Traders from around the world, beautiful viewers, welcome to this weekly trading forecast. This is like my fifth back-to-back week of consistency, so I'm keeping up to my promise. Yeah, so I won't waste your time. I'll just take you straight to the charts, and for starters, I'm going to drag you especially to going to follow order as usual. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to follow. More of these videos are coming. I am actually cooking something, and I know I've been saying I'm cooking something, but the videos that you're seeing are just forecast videos. And yeah, so I am actually preparing something to explain to you guys a couple of things. I have a few students that I'm talking to right now, so it's kind of like tough to balance time. So when I get time like this in the weekend to record, I do record a few things. So yeah, well, follow, subscribe, share with your friends, and let's get to business. So first things first, we definitely have to observe what news lie ahead in this week as usual. So I'm gonna go to Forex Factory. This is the page I use, and I'm gonna apply next week as usual just to see what we have. And it's quite a busy week, especially for the Canadian dollar and the pound. Not seeing the USD. Yeah, so we have fairly medium strength news for the USD, but the rest don't actually relate with the USD as such. That will definitely judge on how we handle the setups that we get throughout the course of the week. So yeah, that's it. We have CPI for the Canadian dollar. We have claimant count change. I don't even know what this is. Trust me, I usually just follow on the USD news. So if there's a week that doesn't have USD news, it's a good sign for me because I know there is less manipulation and there is less market movement. Other countries, though, their news are strong, but they're not as strong as the USD news. That's just how it is. And yeah, so right straight to the charts. Since we don't have any strong DXY news this week, so I'm gonna start with DXY and show you how we do this. Now we are here. Why are we loading so much? I think my internet is down.
A few moments later.
Yeah, so slight issue with my internet. Let's get to it. So DXY is on your screen right now, and we're gonna just start analyzing that. I took the liberty of deleting every sort of lives that I had, except only a few that have been maintaining consistency throughout. So as usual, you've heard me say this so much. We've been in a consolidation for a year in the dollar. We reached this level of 101, 102, and we got it. It's like a little area of resistance. We rejected beautifully 2 weeks ago. This week has been a bit consolidative because of CPI. CPI usually does that, makes it choppy, but I think the real direction starts this week, especially for the fact that we don't have any strong USD news to counter the strength that will come from other currencies. So I, for one, I am leaning on dollar bearishness simply because we are in this region where there is a fair value gap right now, and I know if you zoom keen enough, you'll see that fair value gap has already been tapped. Let's just look at it. Let's zoom, and you'll see there, slightly that the fair value gap has been used, and after the fair value gap has been used, we got a very strong rejection downwards. So yeah, this is some bearish pressure if you ask me. For next week, I would take more of bearish trades for dollar pairs and bullish trades for counter dollar pairs. Things like EURUSD, AUDUSD are considered buys, and things like USD dash, like USD Canadian dollar, USDJPY, and USDCHF, I'll consider sells. How will I consider that? Let's just go. But before we go, I'll just observe lower time frame, and we see in the lower time frame we have this important key level here. That is the area of 99.4 if I see this level being broken, that's the only bullish level that I'm expecting to, what have I done? Yes, this is the only bullish level that I'm expecting to be challenging for the dollar at the moment. So if we get a close below this point, then it's just downside for me. And let's start with the Aussie dollar. Now the Aussie dollar has been interesting for a couple of weeks, simply because we had a failing fair value gap that I talked about a couple of weeks ago, and then now we're in a region where there is a fair value gap again. So what would I do? I'll basically start by marking this point here and see if we closed above or we closed below it. So yeah, we did close below it. That's one sign of kind of staying away from this chart, simply because this is a sweep indication for sales. However, we do have news, the Aussie news throughout the week. So some Aussie news, not all, some, maybe on Wednesday. I think I kind of forgot. But we're going to be keen to observe what happens towards this level here. If it fails, then I'm expecting upside all the way to 0.72008. However, how am I going to deal with this is I'm going to observe the daily. So now we see at the daily is exactly what is happening. We are in a fair value gap region, and this fair value gap is the only resistance point of this price. If we get a close above this area here and a retest, we expect more upside up to the area that I'm talking about. How would I enter? I don't know yet, because we haven't broken this level. However, if we break, I'll go to the 4-hour and observe for any good changes. So at the 4-hour, we see, fading bearish fair value gaps, bullish fair value gaps upwards. So I'm guessing a strong close above, a tap into these fair value gaps will be a good sign to go up. Failure of these fair value gaps will be a good sign to go down as well. That's for Aussie USD. For the Euro, nothing much really. Let me just start at the weekly. The week was strong. We left a fair value gap behind. This fair value gap here failed beautifully. So we have some strong selling pressure, not gonna lie, but we still have bullishness. We're coming off of some key area of support, and we're respecting it. So I'll also observe. There's no news for the euro. There's no news for the dollar as well. So we're gonna see where strength lies. But in the meantime, if I'm going to look for opportunities, I'm going to the daily and observe. We're in this bearish fair value gap here. Any close above one of these swing points will be an indication that this fair value gap here is invalid. This fair value gap here is invalid, so we're gonna get more upward for at least this level. However, since we're seeing a sweep, I could expect for price to drop as low as this point, 1.143, some sort of a correction before price goes up. Yeah, so then we have the NZDUSD. Beautiful setup. I had been crying about this fair value gap for weeks now. Oh, there's a fair value gap, Price will get in the fair value gap and then push above. Price will get in the fair value and push above. And hooray, just did so. So after doing so, we see we are still kind of back towards that level. So this level here is very important. A break would definitely mark a new journey for NZDUSD to the upside. Simple as that. I don't need to be complicated with that. And then you have USDCAD. Now this setup was something, because I missed a couple pips on my entry for this one, and only because I did not pay attention enough. If I had paid attention, I would have gotten the entry and the story would have been different. However, for one, I do not regret. There are usually many setups, many pairs, so you can just trade anything and make money. That's how Forex is. It's so vast. You can make money with practically any pair, as long as you have a valid setup, great way of reading bias and whatnot. So this screams bearish through and through. Like, even without relying on the dollar, the DXY, this screams bearish through and through. We have been have failed fair value gaps weeks prior. We have a tap into this bearish fair value gap. We have price pushing into this bullish fair value gap strongly without any key rejection. Now, you remember this scenario was this scenario a couple weeks ago. So I'd be very, very careful. Told you we had Canadian news to start the week. That's just on Tuesday. So I'd be very observant to see what will happen past this level of 1.3725. And if I'll be the wiser, I'll have to mark it, because marking this level would show me what will happen. And I know if I go lower time frames, I will see what really happens to this level. So if I go to the daily, for example, and yeah, in the daily, I'll fine tune it to make it, keen like that. To the daily, I see this swing point has not been invalidated yet. So if we get a sweep, then yeah, we could be bullish, and this bullishness wouldn't last long, because a sweep would be all the way towards this unused fair value gap, and then from here we would see things. Let me just call them things. And then if we don't get that sweep, maybe the week starts strong and we get a close below like that, the pullback, and you'll be looking for more downside like that. So it's kind of 50-50, only because we have news for the week. And if we didn't have this news, I would still call for bearish for this setup, definitely. And I think I'll have to mark this as my high probability setup, because of the way things are, because of the news, like many things are aligning. So kind of like I want that. So yeah, this looks good. This looks good. In the 4 hour, maybe I'll have to check if we can get something easier in the 4 hour. Yeah, so we have these fair value gaps. Sorry, maybe lock it, I think. So we have these fair value gaps right here that I can use to like push lower. I'm not gonna lock it. I don't know how to use this. Yeah, you'll be surprised the things I don't know how to use, but we're learning. So I am going to observe this area here and see if there is a respect into those gaps, then a push lower. Simple as that for the 4 hour for USDCAD. Definitely a high probability setup that I look into. And now we have USDCHF. USDCHF is not looking any good for sales if we're looking for bearishness. As we said, we're eyeing for a bearish dollar, so maybe we would eye for bearish USD dashes. But I'm not seeing anything. I'm just seeing price target consolidation, not going anywhere. And even if I go to lower time frames, I'll definitely see the same thing. So there's no gaps, there's nothing to look at. So it's unpleasing, really. Unpleasant, that's the word. Yeah, had a few trades. This was news trade. This was another news trade which I missed. And this is just a mock-up trade. I didn't take any of this. It's supposed to be 1.25, I didn't take it. So yeah, we are still sweeping this area here. Sweep. So I'm guessing this is already a key resistance point. Yeah, so maybe I'm not gonna look into USDCHF online. I'd rather spend my time on USDCAD. So we have UJ, got a loss on this trade, very sad. Early entry, the Japanese yen had different plans, the dollar had different plans last week. It was a whole confusion. I thought it was gonna keep bleeding, but it's not, maybe this week. So as you can see, what's happening this week is a very interesting thing. We see now we are in this weekly fair value gap, and we haven't rejected in any way, shape or form whatsoever. So if I'm going to be honest, this is a tricky trade. It's a very tricky one. So keenly to approach this, because I do trade UJ, I'm going to talk about it a bit much. You have to mark the important levels. I already marked the all-time high. I already marked this key resistance point and support with green. So green support equals buy, red resistance equals sell. That's how I color code these things. Now, the area of 159.321 is the area that I'm going to be observing. Why? Because this already is a weekly rejection into the fair value gap, because the fair value gap is still alive. It's just that it's, you know, a rejection point. Let me put a neutral color for this. Let me say something like this. Neutral, as in to say anything that will happen at this point, a sweep or a run would be an indication for my entries. If I get a sweep, it will be a sell for me, and that will mean that we have responded beautifully from the fair value gap. So a sweep will look like this. We come up this short distance and then we close heavily below all the way towards this target. So that is my one bias for UJ. However, if the sweep doesn't work and we get a run will definitely mean we come up, we close above, we retest this neutral point, and then we aim for the all-time highs as usual. This would be an indication for bias. These days, the UJ has been behaving some sort of independent. Be careful for pairs that are starting to behave independent of the dollar, because that means there are bigger players at play, there are bigger institutions at play. There are lots of factors that are controlling this said pair, so you have to be very careful. That's why I talked about this Kindi. Like, you could see this and you're like, oh yeah, rejection in the fair value gap, so now I'm just waiting. It's not usually just like that. You have to have things that align. Oh my god, these are so many lines. Okay, so just delete the ones that I know are not it. So as of now, we already have this weekly bias like that. Now, if I'm supposed to observe in the daily, I will make it even easier, because now in the daily, I have these rejection points. This fair value gap would also mark my points of entry, because this would mean this fair value gap has failed, and that would add to my confidence that I am bearish, because there's no other resistance point to hold it down except this one. And upwards, if we reach here and we don't reject, that means we're going upwards. So both sides there's resistance points that would cause, you know, a change in direction. I'm planning to use both of them to make sense of things. Yeah, so that's that for the currencies. If I'm going to talk about gold and silver, well, I think I would definitely talk about this in a separate video. However, my bias is still the same. I'm holding on to buys, as I analyzed a couple of videos back, that I was expecting gold and silver to have bullish momentum throughout the year. From that point in time, I think it was July, end of July, we're already in the middle of August, and we're seeing signs. We're seeing signs of break from this consolidation, pull above. So maybe a pullback into this level of 4320 would send us above. Simple as that. For silver, we're already seeing the trade that I told you, and I'm going to place as a mock-up, this trade. I didn't have the money to put such a huge stop loss, so I didn't take it. However, we learned from everything. So this mock-up trade is going good, and as I say, this fair value gap as we used, we have the break from this consolidation level, as you can see, and now we are retesting it. However, I expect a deeper retracement, then push above. Any level that is going to be disrespected, these red levels would be my new entries, quote unquote. So by disrespect, I mean close above. So that's that. I don't need to say anything else. That's that. Anyways, thank you for having me. As I promised, I'm gonna be bringing these forecast videos as much. I am actually preparing something, and I don't know when I'm going to release it, but it's a lot. It's a series of things, so many things, and just don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more content like this. See ya.